Jesus said, "Man cannot live on bread alone, but from every word that proceeds from the mouth of God." You're listening to Daily Truth.
We think, oh man, if we could go back. This is common thinking. And I want to encourage you and admonish you by the grace of God. Here's my pastoral word to you. Stop it. Stop it. This is too common in the church. This is our thinking, oh, if we could go back. The first century church, they really had it. They got it. The problem with the church today is we're not like the first century church. No. We're on the way up. Things are improving. Are there false teachers in the church today? Yeah. Is evangelicalism in America not quite as robust as I would like it to be? Yeah, you betcha. But no. The goal is not to go back. Brian Sauvé, he says it like this. He says, we are not the lesser sons. The church today, Christians today, we are not the lesser sons of former sires. We're not. It took the church 300 years just to figure out who Jesus was. Is he fully God? Is he fully man? This hypostatic union thing, how does that work? If you ever wonder, how come all the historic creeds, the Apostles' Creed, the Nicene Creed, how come they don't ever tell us what we should believe about eschatology, the last things? I'll tell you why. They didn't get there. They were just figuring out who Jesus is. The church slowly, over time, is sharpening its doctrinal convictions. Over time, we know more now than they did. We do. Things are actually better now. People all the time, they're like, oh, things are just getting worse and worse and just spiraling, just worse and worse until Jesus comes back. No sense polishing brass on a sinking ship, rearranging, the deck on the Titanic, just worse and worse until Jesus comes back. All right, look, let's just do quick math. How many Christians were there at the time of Jesus? How many are there now? Is the trend going up or down? And when you think about Satan before the ministry of Jesus, the strong man in the earth, his house being bound so that we, the people of God, can go in and plunder the house. When you think about that, it's like, well, what about World War II? What about Hitler, Joel? Hitler, that's pretty bad. Yeah, you know what? Hitler, the Third Reich can be measured in a matter of months. But there is nothing like Babylon. And there is nothing like Assyria. And there is nothing like the Persians. And there's nothing like the Ottoman Empire. And there's nothing, and we could go on and on and on. Not months, centuries of oppressive, tyrannical, demonic empires that stretched across the known world at that time, that would fillet their victims alive and hang their skin on the walls of their cities to intimidate their enemies. Horrible things. Horrible things. So we decided that things are getting worse because we do this. We take a short amount of history and an isolated location. So we look at America in the last 50 years and we're like, well, things are getting worse. How about looking at the whole world over the last 2,000 years? So instead of just our nation 50 years, let's look at the whole world 2,000 years. Hunger has gone down, and yet there are more people. So much for overpopulation. Right? Poverty the poverty line has gone up in the sense that people across the board have a better quality of living. And the gospel has spread to virtually every tribe, tongue, and nation. There are still unreached people groups that are virtually unchristianized, but the gospel has spread. There are millions of converts. And yeah, the last 50 years, and especially we've seen it highlight the last 5 years in America, that's not going to make the highlight reel for the post-mill documentary, that we watch in heaven. That's not our best moment. I admit that. Not our greatest moment, right? There are spikes and dips, right? Just like the stock market. We've been in a bit of a dip. That's true. But to say that things have been just progressively worse for 2,000 years in every nation across the planet, there's just absolutely no history to back that point up. It cannot be substantiated. Jesus bound the strong man. And what is happening by the preaching of the gospel, through primarily conversion, through the expanse of the saints and the church, is that the enemy and the kingdom of darkness is being pushed back. That's the powers of the age to come. We're living in it. We're not the lesser sons of greater sires. The people in the first century, I guarantee you, as they watch, as it were, from heaven, they're saying, gosh, that would have been cool to be alive in their time. And we're sitting here reading, oh man, the book of Acts. Oh man. Get over it. Move on. The book of Acts was great 2,000 years ago. But But God has appointed us in this time, in this place, for such a time as this. And this is exciting. It's not all falling apart. It's not. I preached this a few weeks ago, but but Joel, I mean, the way that the godless and the pagan are just lashing out, yeah, that's like an animal. Once it's been wounded and it's trapped, it froths at the mouth and it's reeling and clawing. Yeah, that's because it's on its last leg. That's what that is. It knows that its doom is sealed. Look at 2 Timothy chapter 3. Read 2 Timothy chapter 3 on your own sometime. That's a passage that's always cited, right? In the last days, people will be lovers of self and gluttons and this and that. And you read that and you're like, oh man, we're living in the last days because we're in America and everybody's fat. Okay, well, yeah, all right, I see your point there, but that's not, you're missing it. 2 Timothy chapter 3, if you read on, it goes on to say, not just lovers of self and disobedient to parents. It goes on to say this. It says, like those two men, they will not get very far. Which two men? It talks about Jannes and Jambres. Jannes and Jambres were the two right-hand magicians in the time of the exile or the Exodus in Egypt with Israel. They were the right men of Pharaoh that tried to counter the signs and wonders that Moses performed by the power of God. And these two men, it says, they will, just like those two men, they will not get very far. And it goes on and says, 2 Timothy chapter 3, their folly will be seen by all. Their folly will be seen by all. Meaning this, as the pagan, as the enemy of God tries to counter God's power, tries to do what only God can do, tries to produce fruit that can only be produced by God. So as the pagan comes and says, I've got a great idea, Marxism, it's never truly been tried, and if we try it the right way, it'll work this time. Or I got a great idea, socialism, and people can have universal income, and housing, and people, if they were just taking care of the thing that's holding humanity back is their fear, and if everybody was taken care of, you know what they would do? Be lazy and drugs? No. They would do great works of art and cure cancer, and I've got a great idea. No, their folly will be plain to all. That's what 2 Timothy chapter 3 says. Just like Jannes and Jambres. Like magicians. It's fake. And everybody eventually will know that it's fake. They will not get very far. But you, Paul goes on to say to Timothy, you stick to the script. The Word of God. Put those things into practice. Play the long game. Because the long game of faithful obedience is not flashy, it's faithful. Not flashy, but faithful. Jannes and Jambres, flashy. The people of God, faithful. We will outlast them. They will not get very far. And their folly will be plain to all. 2 Timothy chapter 3 doesn't say there will be more bad people. It just says that there will still be bad people. At any time throughout the church age, there will always be pagans. There will always be bad people, and those bad people in certain times will be really bad. But those bad people and their really badness won't ultimately be successful. They won't get very far.
Wait. Real quick, before you go, do me a favor. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click the bell so you'll be notified with all our new content as it comes out on a daily basis. And if you're willing to support this ministry, you can do so by going to rightresponseministries.com/donate. Thanks so much. God bless.